Every adventure has an end. At some point, we all hit that, I'm good, right? Your gear score's gone high enough. You've done enough of the dungeons. You've done the world quests. You've sampled everything there is, and you've done it enough. And so then you're kind of in this lull while you're waiting for the new content to launch. And that's where we're kind of at in retail. We're waiting for our new retail island. We're all very excited about that. We got some Plunderstorm on the way. But for the next week or so, we kind of got this lull. I mean, I still do my fishing derby. I run around, do the world quest and stuff. But then I was just kind of sitting around like, man, I don't really have anything to do. And an idea occurred to me. What do I always hear from you guys in the comments, huh? Boklahoma, why don't you try Classic? Why don't you try Classic, Boklahoma? You gotta try Classic. So, fine. Look what you made me do. I came over here to try some Classic. And I have to be honest, it's incredible. The first thing I want to talk about when it comes to Classic is Classic content that I hate. Can I just rant here for a second about a pet peeve of mine when it comes to Classic WoW content? One of the things that just drives me up a wall are those videos that are like, first time playing World of Warcraft in 2024, or I'm an MMO guy, or I played Guild Wars 2, but I haven't ever played World of Warcraft. And then the whole video, they're running around like they're just stupid. Right? Like, oh, I'm going to this enchanted forest in Elwyn, and I'm taking a magical trip in Stormwind. And then you'll see people in the comments that are all like, isn't it magical? It's really great. Wait until you get to Westfall. You're going to have a blast. Who gives a shit what that dumb idiot thinks? You're telling me you love MMOs, you love the MMO genre, but you haven't in the last 20 years taken one day to come play the most successful MMO in history, one of the most successful games in gaming history. You didn't think to do that until 2024, and I'm supposed to come watch your video? You sound like a fucking moron. And you guys eat that shit up. That video would have 100,000 views. You know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to make a video where I just say, Boklahoma first plays World of Warcraft for the first time ever. And then the moment that people click on that video, I'm going to just start tearing into them. Just be like, you idiot. You're going to come watch somebody who loves video games and loves MMOs, but never played the most successful one in 20 years. That's good content to you, and you're going to reinforce that content? Oh my God. Drives me up a wall. And I'm telling you, that video would have 300,000 views. It'd be my best one ever. Makes me sick. So you guys just pretend like this is the first time I'm ever playing World of Warcraft, even though it's been out for 20 years, since you guys are so fond of that kind of shit. Oh my God. Drives me crazy. So here's my first time in Warcraft, and I logged in, and what do I see? Oh, the same thing that's been here for 20 years. It's Northshire. And I'm going to tell you right away, Classic WoW rocks. It rocks. And Classic community, I get it. I get why you guys are hooked on this. I am having an absolute ball. It is amazing. Thank you all for getting my World of Warcraft addiction flared up. It's the last thing I needed right now. But here we are. You guys got me back on the sauce. I mean, there's just a ton of things I can say about Classic content, but I think all of you should come play it so that you can see how right I was about things. First off, the best thing about Classic WoW, immersion in the world of Warcraft. I have had more interactions, I have talked to more people, and I have had more community in Elwyn freaking Forest. I'm not even talking about moving out to Westfall and as the game goes on. I'm talking about in the starter zone. I have had more interactive gameplay and more immersion than I have in all of retail. Probably a few expansions put together. Retail is just everybody running around doing their chores. The other players might as well be NPCs. I have needed other players. I have helped other players. I have spoken to other players. Everybody's running around. The zones are packed. It is absolutely an incredibly immersive experience, and it makes me realize how lacking that is in retail. Now, I don't think the retail community really gives a damn because retail community hates leveling. They just want to buy a boost, throw on their heirlooms, spam dungeons until they get to max level so they can get their new alt number 5 or whatever on the gear treadmill. No one really cares about being with other players or experiencing that community of being with other players and working with other players. And I'm not talking about in dungeons. I'm talking about in quest. I mean, Hogger has been wrecking shop. Hogger is not Hogger. He is the Butcher of Elwyn. I have seen him. He has been wrecking groups. There are skeleton remains all over that knoll hill out there. People are getting wrecked, and it's incredible. Brother Boklahoma's died a few times. Some respawns came in behind me. One of the most immersive things about Classic is you're not a superhero. You can't go grab an entire zone and AoE it down. You will get jacked up. So I would most certainly say that the end game is obviously a lot harder in retail, but leveling and being in the actual world is a lot more dangerous in Classic. And you've got to be really careful because you can die. You'll see rank 1 players who are some of the best in the game dying on hardcore. And that's because in Classic WoW, the world is dangerous. There's some dangerous shit out here. There's some mobs that'll jack you up, stun you, disarm you, and burn you down with them and their friends. And it's fantastically immersive. And the community out here is great. Everybody's running around. I'm throwing out wisdoms and mites, and I'm getting buffed with forts and intellect. People are just, it's just an amazingly immersive experience. And everybody should try it, if nothing else, so that you'll know how right I was about how flying killed the world. Flying killed the world of Warcraft, because everybody's up in the air and no one sees each other. You're not running around helping each other. Flying killed the world of Warcraft. I will double down on that. And every time you say that, you'll get the same stupid people that are like, why don't you just ride on a mount if it's so important to you? But that's not the point, is it? If I get on the ground and ride around on my charger on the ground, but everybody else is in the air flying, it doesn't have the effect. If everybody is grounded on the ground and we're all running and passing each other and buffing each other up, then it does have that effect. It has been a breath of fresh air to actually see other players, help other players, and see them out questing and killing stuff and dying, and it's just really cool. And the immersion in Classic WoW is way better than it is in retail. Okay, and I'm not saying that they need to bring that to retail. They don't, because the retail community wants no part of it. They don't give a damn. You're not playing retail because you care about immersion. That's long gone. But it's fun. It's got its quirks, and it's got its things going for it, but immersion is not one of them. Another thing that's amazing in Classic is gearing. There's no gear score or any of that shit that's just designed to keep you on a gear treadmill. I will tell you, full stop, my level 8 green hammer of the monkey or whatever has been one of my favorite pieces of gear I've ever gotten in World of Warcraft. I got this green hammer at level 8. I bought it off the auction house for like 20 silver, and it has been a dream. And I immediately noticed the difference when I used it. And it was a really cool experience. I was more excited about that green hammer than I was about my Omen crafted, things in retail and bracers and my trinkets, and everything in retail now has a paragraph, and you get this stacking buff. And then if you have to have like cliff notes to explain how it works to you. But I don't need any of that shit. It's got like +1 stamina and +2 strength. It's really slow and hits really hard, and I'm dropping people with it. You can just know that. You don't want none of my green hammer of the monkey. I can promise you that. That's my thumping stick, and it is crazy awesome, and I'm completely right about green, blue, purple. You don't need all this gear score shit to make it feel good. People get the gear, and then guess what? They run it again, and they run it again. People run dead mines over and over. They'll do dungeons and over trying to get that piece of gear when they get it. And then when they finally do get it, and they kind of get one character geared out, if it wasn't too hard or too tedious, they will go play another character and level that one up. But if it's too tedious and you got to farm 90 gilded crests just to get this thing and whatever, then they're like, you know what? I'm good. You're going to have more participation the easier it is to gear, honestly. I think that's 100%. And I'm not saying you don't have a dedicated community that will do 100,000 dungeon runs to fully gear to get into full mythic track. they'll do it. You definitely have that community. I'm just saying that I think long term, if you're trying to bring new players into the game, which I've always said is the issue with World of Warcraft, you need to bring new players into the game. Classic is going to do that better for you than retail, because retail is just completely overcomplicated. And another thing to pair with the gearing is just abilities in general. In retail, you have a ton of abilities, and some of them are really cool. I mean, retail has some great abilities, and I always feel like class design is one of Blizzard's strengths. But I'll be honest with you, sometimes I feel like I'm hitting 6 or 7 abilities in retail just to do things that, one ability in Classic does. So yeah, I'm only level, I think, 16 or 17 right now in Classic. But when I hit my heal ability, guess what? Their health bar goes up. In retail, I got a Holy Shock twice and get a proc and then hit another thing. And it's just like I have to take 15 steps to get someone's health bar up. Whereas in Classic, I can just target them and hit the heal button. And once it goes off, it heals them for a lot. It really fills up their bar. And that feels good. Feels like I'm a paladin out here taking care of people. And I've healed so many people that were about to die. And then I've saved their ass coming in with that thing. It just feels so good running around the world taking care of my people. Taking care of the blue team, baby. And it feels awesome. And like I said, it's just by hitting the heal button. I save these guys' lives. I don't have to hit Holy Shock twice and get a proc and use an ability and this and that. I can just come in, heal someone, and then get in there and help them kill whatever's hurting them. And it feels awesome. I mean, let's be very honest here. Classic is very simple, and I was kind of critical of this simplicity. But actually, it feels pretty good just to hit the abilities and them do what they're supposed to do. And not having to hit 5 abilities to fill up a health bar. I can just spam 1. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, there are going to be people who want the ability bloat. They just need something to hit over and over and over again. They'll find Classic just too simple, but it works. I mean, I'll definitely tell you, Classic works. And kind of on that note, everything in retail is an AoE ability. I mean, retail has been designed around Mythic Plus, and Mythic Plus is all about grouping up a bunch of shit and burning it all down at one time. And you just do not have that ability in Classic. You just don't. You can't go burn down a whole dungeon now. I know that there's spell cleave groups that run to level together, and they get 3 mages and a priest, and they all do their AoE grinding dungeons and stuff. And there is that part of the community, but that's not everybody. And that's most of the dungeons I'm in. Most people aren't doing that. And when you're running around in the world, it's just, you can't do that. You just can't AoE 3 or 4 mobs at a time. So you have to pick your kills carefully. You have to pull correctly, because you can get overwhelmed and die. And in that way, I would say actually Classic is a lot harder, especially when it comes to leveling, than retail. Retail, the difficulty's all in the end game, but with Classic, there's a lot of difficulty in the leveling. I've died a few times, and I've seen a lot of rank 1 players playing on Twitch streams that have died a few times. Having abilities just do what they do and not needing 30 of them to do the same thing is actually kind of relaxing and chill. It's kind of nice. I could go on and on about all the great things about Classic and just how fantastically fun it is. But I will say the simplicity is actually really refreshing. And it just makes you realize how overcomplicated shit is in retail. And if things are fun, they're fun. And Classic WoW is a lot of fun. And now you're going to bring in the dual spec and the buff, whatever it is, thing that can hold your world buff so you can use them when you need to. I mean, there's just some real quality of life coming. You need to come out here and play some Classic WoW and get a feel for how much you don't need all that complexity in your life, because I think it'll shock you how much fun you'll have. One of the things I'll say here in closing is, without a doubt, my number one opinion is they need to get Classic WoW on Game Pass. This needs to hit consoles as quickly as possible. And if I'm Blizzard and if I'm Microsoft, I want that done immediately. The complexity of retail and just the complexity of all the abilities and everything. I mean, there's a bunch of button bloat with a mouse and keyboard. I can't imagine a controller. Now, some classes are worse than others, but just in general, a lot of people play Classic WoW on Steam pads and all that stuff now. And this version of World of Warcraft needs to come to console, because World of Warcraft's number one problem, in my opinion, is and has been that they need new players. And bringing it to console, I believe, would breathe a bunch of life into the game. So thanks a lot, Boklahoma gang, for getting me back on the WoW sauce. I'm out here in Westfall fishing up oily blackmouth and getting smoked by murlocs, and it's all because of you. Get out here and have some classic fun. It'll be good for you. Boklahoma out.